Very good afternoon, everyone. Now, today we are here to have a e-learning session by MD Pharmacology Group, and the topic of today's discussion is the self-directed learning. Now, first of all, we all congratulate Dr. C.M. Kamal for his speedy and complete recovery because he was suffering actually from the COVID, and we salute your enthusiasm because even after that COVID, you are here to share your views regarding the current topic of the self-directed learning. Now, just one word about the self-directed learning, that M4 formula should be there because of current scenario, and that is the motivation of the learning, management, monitoring of the learning, as well as the modification. So all these four, they have to be done by the students because we tell them that we are going to make you IMG, and one of the components of IMG is lifelong learner. Now, I am privileged to introduce Dr. C.M. Kamal, who is MD and DCH both, MD Pharmacology, and he is serving the country by utilizing the maximum potential as a child specialist as well as the renowned pharmacologist. Currently, he is associate professor and founder of the Department of Pharmacology, Government Medical College, Saharanpur. He did his UG and PG in pharmacology as well as the pediatrics from the Jawaharlal Nehru Medical College, AMU. Now, before current position, he worked at several renowned places, including Sarda University, Grand Noida, and Mahant Indresh University at Dehradun. At Sarda University, he is recognized as the founder director of the clinical research because he actually developed that research lab, clinical research lab. He has developed number of interesting modules for the practical of the pharmacology training for undergraduate and postgraduate. He has published number of research articles, commentaries in the national and international journals. A very renowned book related to the drug therapy in pharmacology for pediatrics is also his spirit. So I am pleased to invite Dr. C.M. Kamal, and happy to see that he is in.
Thank you very much for Dr. Dikshit. Thank you very much. On this platform of National MD Pharmacology, we welcome you all. This is a platform for learning together. And in this first series of the competency-based medical education, my topic of discussion will be self-directed learning in pharmacology. So before I can go ahead, just let me remind you all are the great teachers of all the times, that a good teacher can inspire a hope, ignite the imagination, and instill a love of learning among the students. So if we are comparing the self-directed learning, that there's a bucket that is full of the balls of various colors, as is quite evident from this image. The teacher-led or conventional pedagogical sampling is that teacher is taking out each red color ball with his hand, is showing to the students, while in self-directed learning he is giving the this opportunity to the student itself, and from the bucket the student is taking up the desired color of the ball and he is collecting it, and as per the requirement. So it is done by the student itself. So it is the self-directed, and sometimes self-directed learning is also called autonomous because it is an independent learning. Sometimes some people call it independent directed learning. So it is a process in which individual take the initiative with or without the help of others, in diagnosing their learning needs, formulating the learning goals, identifying resources for the learning. He himself is responsible for choosing and implementing the appropriate learning strategies, whatever required, whatever he or she may feel appropriate for the purpose of learning. And also he is also responsible for the evaluation of this self-directed learning. So as such, the self-directed learning, it finds a place in the competency-based medical curriculum. The document that is released by Medical Council of India in 2018. And we can very well see on page number 20 at 3.4 that the student is defined as a lifelong learner. Indian medical graduate is defined as a lifelong learner committed to continuous improvement of his skills and knowledge. He must be demonstrate ability to perform an objective assessment of knowledge and skill, demonstrate ability to apply newly gained knowledge or skills to take care of the patient, demonstrate the ability to introspect and utilize experiences to enhance personal and professional growth and learning, demonstrate the ability to search, including electronic means. Here I want to emphasize, I want to draw your kind attention of all that. You can see very well here in 3.4.4 that demonstrate the learning to search, including electronic means. So electronic meaning means the internet through the laptop, through smartphones. They have been incorporated as a learning means in the medical education of Government of India for Indian medical graduates now. And a student must be able to identify and select an appropriate career pathway for its professional rewarding and personally fulfilling. As such, we all are quite aware of this conventional method of didactic lectures, which we are following for quite a long time. Didactic methods, they provide students with the required theoretical knowledge. We are all quite well aware of this. It is a effective method which is being used to teach students who are unable to organize their work. Learners, they are dependent on the teachers for the instructions. It is also used to teach basic skills related to cognitive domain. It cannot teach a psychomotor domain effectively, didactic lectures. So we need to take other learning methods in our teaching apart from the didactic lectures. And there is a problem in the didactic lectures that the didactic lectures are insufficient now for complete e-learning, complete learning to occur. There is a lack of coverage of curriculum by conventional didactic methods. And now, as we all know, that time span has been reduced for pharmacology teaching and training as per competency-based medical education. Now we are having effectively 1 year available as compared to previous 1.5 or 1.5 year or 18 months. We are having 12 months in our hand, and among these 12 months, we are having effectively not more than 9 or 10 months effectively, because there is a lot of holidays also. So learners are passive. There is no feedback in didactic lectures. Students waste attention very quickly. Sometimes they are very boring unless well prepared. So these are the limitation with the didactic lectures. Now here I am showing you the growth model of SSDL, where the student is growing with the passage of time. You can see that how students is being converted from dependent to self-directed learner, and teacher is being converted from a coach to a consultant. And if we are comparing it, this is passing through 4 stages. In the first stage, the student is entirely dependent on the teacher. We can take the example of coaching with immediate feedback that I already discussed. In the second stage, students are interested. There is a motivation guided. We can take examples. In third part, it is involved, and teacher is acting as a facilitator. He is also discussing at the same level at the student and is helping in learning process. And in the fourth is the most advanced or the advanced stage of learning, which is self-directed learning, where teacher's role is limited to assigning the work through the self-directed learning. We can take the example of research work or student small projects being given to undergraduate students. So this is the gross SSDL model, where teacher is also promoting self-directed learning, and learning occurs in stages that is shows in this table. And teacher is being student is being converted from dependent to self-directed, or a learner is growing from dependent to the self-directed learning. I will be just discussing these methods one by one. In the stage one, I will repeat again that students are entirely dependent. Teacher are acting as an authority, entirely taking as a coach, he himself guiding, and a student is having a lesser involvement in stage one. While in the stage two, students are interested, and through a process of discussion and all, or through the motivation classes or through the motivational lectures, teacher is engaging students. So this is the stage two, where teacher is acting as a motivator and student is showing some interest. If you are comparing it with the stage one, the student is not that much interested, and student is dependent, while in stage two it is interested and it is involved. A third is the more advanced stage, where the student is involved and teacher is acting as a facilitator to the students for the various activities, in the practical activities also. And this is the most advanced stage, where a student himself is directing or himself is explaining the learning activity that he or she has learned. Teacher himself is acting as a consultant or assigning work through self-directed learning. These are the list of the advantages of the self-directed learning. I will be going quickly that self-directed learning is an active form of the learning to the learner's style. It is having flexibility of choice of selection of method of learning. Students are having self-control on the content and the pace, speed of the learning. Student learn at a faster speed through self-directed learning with the much curiosity as compared to the teacher-driven learning or conventional learning. There is exposure to huge learning material through e-learning media. SDL is satisfying the individual learning needs to a greater extent. It is self-motivating. A student is responsible for making his own decision, his own learning requirement and fulfillment. It is anytime learning. There is a flexibility of timing in self-directed learning. Student or learner can adjust his or her timing according to the need available. If he is more free in the evening hours through self-directed learning, it is possible that he can dedicate his time according to the need or the demand. It promotes lifelong learning culture, which is a basic requirement which has promoted a lot in the competency-based medical education. It is saving the time of transportation and traveling, and it is cost-effective. Apart from these list of the advantages, there are few disadvantages also that are associated with the self-directed learning, that it is not having, sometimes blame that it is not having any self-discipline, no face-to-face interaction is occurring, there is a lack of input from the trainers, and there is a slow evolution in the process of self-directed learning. It is more time consuming, and the student can be distracted from the aim if the proper guidance is not being given in self-directed learning. So in the hours breakup, as we know, we have discussed on the last session also that at least you can see from this hours breakup that 1/3 or around 80 hours have been dedicated to the theory lectures, and here I am showing you 12 hours. We need to give at least 12 hours during the entire session of the 12 months, at least 12 hours for the self-directed learning activities. And these are, this will be falling in under the categories of the non-theory lectures. So we need to devote at least 12 hours. It is the now prescribed in the competency-based medical education that each and every department need to devote at least some hours through self-directed learning. So we need to know in details how students can be promoted, can be inspired through self-directed learning process. It has been discussed a lot by various specialists that self-directed learning is a very good method, but many, even some of the experienced teachers, they want to know that we should suggest how this self-directed learning can be taken in our curriculum of pharmacology. So one by one, I will be discussing some of the methods that I am already applying in my department of pharmacology here at SMMH Government Medical College at my institution. I will be discussing one by one several of the self-directed learning methods I am already applying very successfully, and students are taking a lot of interest in all these methods of self-directed learning. Some examples of self-directed learning exercises that I am doing here is use of the internet or computer for searching drug information. I am giving the students some insight knowledge of the Android app. Each and every student nowadays are having a smartphone in his or her hand, so they can download some of the apps are free available for checking potential drug interactions. Students can also log in to YouTube video. They can use animations, which is some complex procedure or pathophysiology is very easy to understand through the animation or educational videos that are now available on YouTube. It can be taken as a self-directed learning. Self-directed learning of the various devices that are being used in medication administration. Some sessions, say for example, preparing an injection from a vial, student can practice at their home or at their room. It is not necessary that such practice sessions of preparing injection from a vial should occur always in the department. They can be practiced. Can be practiced at the room or a student's home. Preparation of e-poster on a given topic, retrieving the clinical information from a medication label. I'm using all these methods of self-directed learning here in my department of pharmacology. We are sometimes giving a student a short assignment and evaluation of commercially available cough preparations, and it is very interesting exercise. The students are taking a lot of interest. So one by one, I will be giving you the insight how it is being done at our department. Here it is an example. This is the case-based learning. You can also take that a 75-year-old male referred to physician with the complaint of 2 days history of an itching and burning sensation on left side of his back. These symptoms were accompanied by lethargy and fatigue. 2 days prior to presentation, students experienced numbness and tingling at the same location. So students is typically giving history and clinical presentation of a diagnosis of varicella zoster virus, and it is a case of herpes zoster. Physical examination of the skin is showing cluster of confluent vesicles on the left side on his chest and back at 6th intercostal space. Palpation caused some tenderness with increase. So this is the case that is being given to the student, and these are the exercises that students are being given with the help of the smartphone or through the use of the laptop or use of the internet. They can search on what is the pathophysiology of herpes zoster, what are the mainstay of pharmacotherapy options that are available for herpes zoster, how to find out the various dosage of the drugs along with the duration. So if students are being given an opportunity for this self-directed through the Google search, if they are going on the website of American Family Physicians, here very good available. If they are typing in the Google's management of herpes zoster or shingles or post-herpetic neuralgia.
Dr. Kamal, be quick. The time is running.
Hello?
Hello, Dr. Kamal, please be quick. Be quick.
Okay, sir. So this is information that is antiviral options are now available, and the Android app can be used for checking the potential drug and drug interactions. Here it is one of the Android app here which is being given students. An example, Epocrates, it very famous. If you are typing it, ciprofloxacin and theophylline drug interactions, it is very well elaborating the drug interactions. This is the example of the cannula. So through these imagination.
The B-Brown Varsovix Safety IV catheter with passive safety technology. Safe and easy to use, resulting in first stick success. B-Brown's proprietary universal bevel on the Varsovix Safety IV catheter is a super sharp needle that provides flexibility of insertion angles.
So these kind of the educational videos can induce an interest among the students for self-directed learning.
The universal bevel creates a V-shaped tricuspid incision, resulting in a flexible pathway for easy and smooth catheter insertion. The result is less tearing and faster healing, greater comfort for clinicians and patients. Varsovix Safety's double flashback technology
so it is showing you how beautifully
success
it is
for quick
showing the
visualization
phenomena
of the needle
of the
flash
flashback. So person can be very
and the
much sure
catheter
how
flash.
it is being
Here's
inserted.
how the double flashback technology delivers this benefit.
So,
Upon insertion, the first flashback of blood, needle flash, is visible in the clear flashback
so quickly
chamber.
going into, I'm
confirming
not
the needle
showing
tip.
you the entire, this is the video that is available on the YouTube. You can log in through Vasofix. I'm quickly turning to the other exercises, examples of the self-directed learning competency number 2.3 intravenous drip set. Various devices we are using for intravenous setup, and knowledge of these devices is very much important. Three kind of drip set as are available. What is the drop factor that is applicable to these drip sets? Students can have a knowledge and can access through internet the knowledge of all these devices, and this can act as a very interesting method of stimulating self-directed learning exercises among the students. We are also giving the students for drawing a label diagram of the micro drip set that is being used for intravenous setup. They are like in anatomy department, in the pharmacology department, they are drawing a label diagram and they are putting a name of the different parts. So it is giving an insight. It is developing a lot of interest among the students. Some dope sessions I have already discussed that can be used in pharmacology teaching. E-poster are already being used as told by head of the department, CMC Vellore. E-poster, very effective method of self-directed learning exercise in pharmacology. Here we are giving the drug labeling exercises. We are teaching and training students how effective information from a drug label can be obtained, and this can be done through self-directed learning. We are giving a student a short assignment and evaluation of commercially available cough preparations. So through all these available self-directed learning exercises, it is possible with the students that a student can practice all these exercises and these 12 hours that have been suggested in competency-based medical education can be very well effectively utilized in method. I wish to acknowledge all the my colleagues and my seniors who have helped me in preparing this PowerPoint presentation. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Kamal. Wonderfully presented your session and about the self-directed learning. Now I am privileged to introduce the second speaker of today's talk, Dr. R. Jayalalitha. She is professor in the Institute of Pharmacology, Madras Medical College, Chennai. She has done undergraduate and postgraduate from MMC, Chennai. She has more than 2 decades of teaching and research experience. Before the current position, she worked at Madurai Medical College, Coimbatore Medical College, Stanley Medical College. So most of the reputed medical colleges she has worked. Area of interest is beside teaching UG and PG. She is interested in research, and the research area is diabetes mellitus, artificial intelligence, therapeutic drug monitoring, pharmacovigilance, and others. Now, the most important thing which is acknowledged, to be acknowledged, that is she has been received 3 times, 2012, 13, and 18, appreciation meritorious award from the government of Madras. So she is member of a number of academic associations. Now I invite a very reputed pharmacologist, Dr. R. Jayalalitha, for her talk. Dr. Jayalalitha, please.
Thank you very much, sir, for your kind words. A small correction there. I am an undergraduate of Rajamadhya Medical College, Chidambaram, and I'm a postgraduate of Madras Medical College, basically. So a very beautiful evening to one and all present here. It's a great privilege and a pleasure to speak in front of such an eminent group of pharmacologists from all over the country. And my special and sincere thanks to the national convener, Dr. Dinesh Badial sir, and the national coordinator, Dr. Kamal sir, for having given me such a wonderful opportunity, especially for such an august audience indeed. And I'm very grateful to the moderator, Dr. R.K. Dikshit sir, for having given his consent to kindly moderate the session. And thank you very much for once again for the kind words, sir. So with that, I think I'll go to the session. So the session today will be a continuation of whatever Dr. Kamal has said. So you can see that is our Madras Medical College, the current place where I'm working, and Rajiv Gandhi Government General Hospital. This is our old anatomy block. It's been there since 1835, and this is a new college campus, and this is our hospital. So you can see, and I'll be discussing this topic under the following headings. So regarding what is self-directed learning, what is the need for self-directed learning, regarding the various modules which gives importance to self-directed learning with the reference to the MCA curriculum guidelines, the various thrust areas of SDL implementation, what are the various roles of a teacher, the important aspects, the various approaches and the importance of evaluation, the various steps, ways and means to achieve the SDL in our phase 2 competency-based medical education, and the potential challenges we can meet as a teacher while implementing the self-directed learning. So as you and Dr. Kamal told me that I have to speak on self-directed learning. I remembered my pharmacology classes basically as an undergraduate. You can see how attentive I was in the pharmacology class and how much of the class did I actually follow or retain. So frankly speaking, I would say I retain only 40 to 50% of the classes, even though the lectures were beautifully delivered by our versatile professors. I retain only 40 to 50% of it. And how I learned my pharmacology finally as an undergraduate was I landed up reading Katzeng and Satoshkar. So it was self-study basically. The rest was self-study. We called it a self-study earlier then, which was followed by revisions during the exams. And most of us would have done this sometime in our life. And when we do this methodically, we call this as self-directed learning. Okay. So what is self-directed learning? So the self-directed learning, Dr. Kamal has talked about the theoretical aspects beyond scope. So I think I'll not go through the entire details, just a brief introduction I'll give. And this has been known to exist since the times of Aristotle and Socrates. I can see wherein the learner, he'll take the initiative for his own learning, wherein the learner determines his own smart learning goals. You can see there, the smart learning goals, there stands for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, timely goals he has to set. And he defines his own learning resources. He determines appropriate learning strategies. He evaluates the learning outcomes himself, reflects on his own learning. In short, if you see the learner he becomes his own teacher, learning by oneself, and the responsibility lies with the learner himself through methodical learning, how to do the self-directed learning. It is a student-centered program. It's a transformational process which leads to a change in the learner basically, and it is a process, lifelong learning process, and the reflection on the student's own learning experience. So this was defined as early as a standard definition, if I would say, was by Malcolm Knowles. That was as early as 1975. And this is principally based on the principles of andragogy, that is adult involvement based on experience and more relevant, problem-oriented rather than content-oriented. As I already mentioned, it is a learner-oriented process. So where does it come into our competency-based medical curriculum? So once the undergraduate finishes his CRRI, we call him as a physician of first contact, you must be knowing, and what he's supposed to do, what are the various roles he's supposed to play as a physician of first contact. So he's supposed to play the roles of a clinician, he's supposed to play the role of a communicator, he's supposed to play the role of a leader, a lifelong learner, and he becomes a professional in the end. And this means to say that he's ultimately the Indian medical graduate. And where does our self-directed learning come here? So the self-directed learning is linked to lifelong learning process, and is a very one among the most important roles a physician of first contact has to play. It is mutually related to, it is interrelated to self-directed learning is interrelated to lifelong learning process. So you can see that lifelong learner is committed to continuous improvement of skills and knowledge. So lifelong learning is a process basically, you can see, wherein one acquires knowledge and skills, continues to learn, refine and update, self-monitor and assesses oneself. He applies the knowledge. The lifelong learner applies the knowledge, application of the learned knowledge, learn to apply the knowledge and skill gained. He does some critical thinking and learning and analysis and experiences for the self-improvement and betterment of oneself. He keeps updating and keep pace with the rapid advances and applications in day-to-day practice after mandatory expertise has been achieved. And it also enables oneself to choose an appropriate career path in the process. So that's a lifelong learning process. So lifelong learning and self-directed learning are related concepts, and they form the basis to one another. So what is the need for self-directed learning. We know that medicine is an ever-changing science, and self-directed learning leads to a change. There is a higher level of learning occurs, a transformational process occurs. It helps to optimize the learning experience of the learner. It caters towards the needs of the learner, enables his goals and interests. He works collaborative learning and critical thinking. That's very, very important, and allows to focus on useful information, that which is new, which we actually do not have normal access through passive learning. And it makes the learner become active participants. He becomes proactive in the learning process and encourages them to become deep learners. That is, higher level of learning is achieved. And self-directed learning enables individuals to improve their own self-confidence, autonomy, motivation, and lifelong learning skills, in addition to being persistent, independent. So self-directed learning is independence. So it is also known as autodidaxy and goal-oriented. So our competency-based medical education is basically an outcome-based program. That's the definition for competency-based medical education. So it's an outcome-based program. It's a goal-driven program. It's a learner-centric and a shared responsibility between the teacher and the student. It's a quality training in par with the global standards in an Indian context, that which is locally relevant and feasible. So it's a landmark revision of our, we should accept that it is a landmark revision of our existing medical educational system. And it mandates a well-coordinated and a continuously progressive, motivated activity with the team spirit. So this self-directed learning is a shared responsibility, as I already told you. So it is a model of success for all the students, wherein the teacher as well as the student takes equal responsibility. It's a partnership between the teacher and the student. It progresses from focused learning, that is a model instruction, to guided instruction, that which is a shared instruction, to guided practice or collaborative practice. He becomes collaborative between the learner and the teacher, and ultimately he tends to do independent practice as a model of success for all the students. So where does it come into our, what is the time duration allotted for self-directed learning in phase 2 pharmacology? This table, we are very much familiar with this table basically. And so the lecture hours, we know that 8 hours being allotted. In small group teaching, it is around 138 hours, which is allotted. And separately for self-directed learning, we have been allotted 12 hours, you can see, and total of 230 hours. And in addition to that, if you see that there is an ADCOM module, the Attitude, Ethics and Communication module is there. To which we have an 8 hours of self-directed learning has been allotted to, and most of the we have totally 8 modules in this ADCOM module, out of which 4 modules on bioethics. We can do an integrated teaching along with forensic medicine. 4.17 is a forensic medicine competency, which is linked to this linked to our subject, that is phase 2 pharmacology subject, through horizontal integration, and so we can integrate that. So we have totally 12 hours of SDL separately, and in the ADCOM module we have 8 hours of SDL, and the competencies which are the modules which are linked to that will be 2.5, 2.6, 2.7 and 2.8. So modules which mention the self-directed learning, other modules apart from this ADCOM module with reference to the MCA curricular guidelines will be, it finds a mention in the alignment and integrated module, the skills module. Of course, it finds a mention in the logbook and in the phase 3 part 1. So this is not linked to phase 2, but of course it comes in the phase 3, the electives module. So ADCOM module, the first 4 competencies are not linked to SDL. The rest of it is linked to SDL, as you can see. 2 hours has been, this is the module for 6 hours, 2.5 module. So you have totally 2 hours in the first module, 2 hours in the second module, 2 hours in the third module, and 2 hours in the fourth module, till 2.5 to 2.8 you can see. In the ADCOM module, you can see that this uses a case-based discussion in small groups, will in addition encourage collaborative and self-directed learning. That's what the alignment and the integrated module has to say about the self-directed learning. They ask us to have a case that is creatively written, can be used in each phase as well as in the second phase. Often the same case can be used to allow the students to correlate what they have learned and apply to the understanding the disease process, diagnosis and care. So we can do it in integrated teaching. So skills module also finds a mention. This is especially based on case-based discussions and clinical oriented SNAPS model. You must be familiar with the SNAPS model, summarizing, narrowing the differential diagnosis, analyzing the differential, probing the preceptor, planning the management, and finally the final S comes for self-directed learning, which is documented by means of summary and reflection. This can also be a skills module can be integrated along with the clinical based case-based discussion. It can be executed executed, or it can be linked to a linker case also. That way we can create a linker integrated module, and we can go on with the self-directed learning in phase 2. So assessment can be by means of formative assessment, wherein a critical reflection can be done by the student in the form of a critical writing, or a narrative can be given by the student, and a portfolio can be maintained with respect to that. And the electives module also give importance to self-directed learning. So block 1 is especially the pre and para, and block 2 is for the clinical specialties, and it has a mention about self-directed learning. So the logbook also finds, you can see, certain competencies which require documentation of the self-directed learning, reflections, narrative and creative writing experiences, participation in group activities such as a seminar, symposia, etc. may be included in the logbook. So finally, to summarize that, we have a mention about the self-directed module in the EdCom module, in the alignment and integration, the skills module, the electives, and the logbook, you can see. This is a summary of the logbook I have made. This is similar to the logbook summary, which is there for the phase 1, you can see. So it is based on the competencies. There comes a self-directed module in addition to the other areas of mention: interaction in large group, interaction in small group, AdCom module, practical activities, certified skills, non-certified skills, participation in the integrated session, seminar. So you have a various method of entering the various capabilities, like name of the activity, name of the date of completion, attempt of the activity, the rating. It's been mentioned in our AdCom module, decision of the faculty, initial of the faculty, as well as the initial of the learner. So we have a mention of self-directed learning in the summary of the logbook, as well as a separate page to logbook. Separate page to self-directed learning can be had in the logbook. So what are the various thrust areas of SDL implementation in our phase 2 curriculum? If you see, there are several opportunities. The one thing what is very, very important is this is done entirely by the student under the guidance, with or without the guidance of the teacher. So we have to first identify the student is aided by the teacher, helped by the teacher to identify the gaps, the deficits, areas of his various areas of interest is identified by the learner himself, with or without the help of the facilitator. And of course, it is competency based according to a knowledge domain, a skill domain, an attitude, or a communication. And preferably we do this SDL sessions as a small group session. This I've already mentioned about the various areas where all you can implement the self-directed learning. It can also be implemented during a didactic lecture. It can be a recall of the previous year subjects or the phase 1 subjects, which you can give as a homework to the student, as an assignment to the student, ask him to recollect it. This can build up the communication skill. He can do a self-directed learning on this, and he can present in like in the beginning of each lecture. We have 80 didactic lectures are there. So we can have 80 students participating in this. So we can, if we plan it that way, for 5 minutes for each student, for 80 lectures. So we can have a recall of the previous sessions, a recall of pathophysiology, like that aspects. It can also be included in didactic lectures. So it can also be included in practical based domains, tutorials, integrated learning, seminars and symposias. So what are the roles of a teacher? The teacher is not a teacher here. The teacher becomes a facilitator, the teacher becomes a guide, the teacher becomes a mentor, she's an advisor, and so many other roles she has to play. So education is not equal to schooling. You must be knowing this, and a strong learning community enables a self-directed learner to support each other, to elevate each other, and to empower each other. Learners, both the students and teachers, need to know what to learn, and how to collaborate effectively. The teacher herself becomes a co-learner in the process, if we accept that. And self-directed learning has always been existent. A curriculum that which illuminates and seeks intention through self-directed learning will take our communities to the next transformational level. A change can be achieved with a change in the mentality of the existing faculty. And that's what I want to specify here. So the roles of the teacher can be to provide a scaffolding. She can provide an initial support, which can be later on withdrawn. She can be a mentor, advisor, collaborator. She can be a facilitator. She can be a guide. She can help the students to identify the gaps. She can enable the individual learning skills and styles of the unique to the student, to set the smart learning goals, to pursue the interest of the student, to identify the uniqueness in each student. And the teacher is expected to optimize the conditions for learning, nurture the individual ability, and make the learner proactive in the process. An active learner is what is expected to be achieved at the end of the SDL curriculum. So the teacher also facilitates in the process, the teacher facilitates self-management, self-reliance, self-monitoring by the student. So he learns to initiate, maintain, and achieve his goals. During the process, he observes, he judges, he reacts, so he becomes his own teacher. So it's a process during the entire curriculum of our, the 4.5 years curriculum. So these are the various stages which Dr. Kamal has already mentioned about. I'm not going into the depth of that. Dependent learner, interested learner, involved learner, self-directed learner. So currently in phase 2, so he has undergone already 90 hours of SDL in phase 1, if you know. And with that experience, now can we call him a dependent learner or an interested learner? So we have to assess his capability at what stage of SDL he's already in, and we have to allot his SDL according to that. Either the teacher can, if he is a dependent learner, the teacher can be an authority in that. If he's an interested learner, so the teacher can be a motivator. If he's an involved learner, the teacher can be a facilitator. If he's already mastered SDL in this first year curriculum or the phase 1 curriculum, the teacher can very well become a consultant here. So what are the 4 key steps of SDL or the approach to SDL you can see? So the first step will be to assess the readiness to learn, set the learning goals, engage in the learning process, evaluate the learning process. All these 4 steps will be done entirely, specifically will be done by the learner himself, by the student himself. And if there is no intrinsic motivation on the part of the student, then there comes the role of the teacher. So she can motivate the student in a game-based strategy. So motivate him to assess his own readiness, set his own goals, engage in the learning process, and then evaluate the learning process on his own. So you can see. So the readiness to SDL being autonomous, the student becomes autonomous, he becomes organized, self-disciplined. He is able to communicate effectively and able to accept the constructive feedback. Constructive feedback is very, very mandatory, very important in this curriculum. So constructive feedback can be simple, it can be specific, it should be regular, and it should be timely basic, and engage in the self-evaluation and the self-reflection process. So all the while, the teacher, one factor or one important point the teacher has to emphasize is knowledge is more important than grades, and it enables it should inculcate a value progress. It should be a value progress over performance should be valued better. So progress should be given importance to rather than over performance.
Dr. Jalalita,
yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll finish it.
Otherwise, we will have less time for discussion.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll finish it, sir. So this is the evaluation scale, SDL evaluation scale you can see. So it's a learning preference assessment tool, and this was first introduced by Google Minnow to measure the complex attitudes, abilities, and characteristics that which comprise readiness to engage in the self-directed learning process. And it is supposed to, you can see this has proved that levels of SDL readiness can be raised through appropriate educational interventions. It can lead to a higher degree of problem-solving ability, a higher degree of creativity, and a high degree of change can occur in the learner. So I've made 2 sample plans I've seen. See, we have 12 hours of SDL per year, considered for 10 months period. So what we are going to do is, we can, see this is an example I'm stating. So we can divide the students into 3 batches of 80 each. So 10 to 12 per mentor or the facilitator. So the topics may be aligned according to your order of alignment with the pathology and microbiology. So every month there can be an SDL class. You can see the 8th month alone you have 2 classes, 9th month 2 classes. So we have 12 hours like that, pre-university in the 11th month. So the topics can be allotted as per the alignment. This is one type of plan you can have. So the next one is, so these are the various examples of the competencies which can be chosen. The selection of the topic is very, very important, not in normal regular activities, but which leads to a lateral thinking in the student is very, very mandatory. So you can see one example, evidence-based medicine and therapeutic drug monitoring, pharmacovigilance, clinical trials, or a disease-based model, diabetes, more SDL on diabetes, more SDL on hypertension, more SDL on thyroid, more SDL on osteoporosis. These are certain examples I've selected for you. And sample plan 2 will be, this SDL signifies depth of learning and reflection and explicit teaching. It needs clear teaching. So I've divided this into 2 modules, like each 5 hours. This can be a second plan you can do. So you will give an introductory plan in the first hour, first session, followed by 5 hours, followed by another 5 hours. This 5 hours will be one separate topic. The entire 5 hours every month, there'll be 1 hour. The entire 5 hours can be you can discuss only one topic during the entire 5 hours period. So this is a model I have put, you can see. So the introductory session on SDL in small groups. This can include the various plans like recall from phase 1, explain the plan for the phase 2 SDL. A motivation can be given if the motivation can be provided. Briefing on SDL readiness can be done. How to choose the topic, how to identify the topic, how to identify the difficult areas in the concerned topic with or without the help of the facilitator, how to set the SMART goals, how to collect the resources, how to do self-management, self-monitoring strategies, the progress plan, and how to self-evaluate and reflect. This can be an introductory session. You can see this. So first, it can be either, see, SDL is 12 hours allotted. This is classroom teaching inside the class. So SDL means it is deeper level. It is a depth of learning. So we can also have it as a outside the classroom learning can also be had. So I have divided this into 2 sessions. One is inside the classroom. So the 12 hours can be separated like this. This is a 5-hour module as an example I've stated. So introductory plan is already stated. So one, you can give the student an assignment on readiness, give him 30 minutes, ask him to visit the library. At the end of 30 minutes, it comes back to the classroom, reflects on his SDL, whatever has been done. Likewise, during the entire 5 hours, the next hour can be involved in topic selection, SMART goal setting, resources. Next hour on self-management. So at the end of each hour, he can reflect on his own SDL. This can be done as critical thinking, as an audio, as a video, as a narrative. So this can be done as a one module inside the classroom setup on SDL. So you can see this, the next hour is outside the classroom. This can be done as an introductory plan on SDL in small groups can be done. So at the end of this 1 hour, you can give an assignment for the next hour. So the next class will be in the next month period. So there is a gap of 1 month period during which the student reads more about SDL, how to go about SDL, and he can come and reflect on the SDL as an assignment in the next hour. And at the end of the second hour, you can go in for the next hour assignment, the 3rd hour assignment on topic selection, SMART goal setting, resources like that. So this will indicate more depth. This will give more depth of learning, more on reflection. So you have more time for reflection from the students. It can also help as a tool to build the communication skills. So there are so many aspects into it. Okay, I'll go on to the next slide. So what are the various challenges you can see? So Rodney Scajo was an UNESCO researcher. In his book on organizing the schools to encourage self-direction in learners, he stated that the whole school change is imperative to create self-directed learning. So you can see that it is time consuming basically, and there needs to be a change among amongst everyone basically involved in the curriculum process. This process was initially not possible when it was introduced for most of the institutions, even to consider because of the generic work pattern of the teachers. It had to change. The curriculum had to be changed. The timing had to be changed. So the increased opportunity for the learners should be there. Chance to question should be there, to be autonomous. So everything was time consuming. So, and SDL requires time for depth of learning and depth of reflection, as well as explicit teaching is needed. So only when there is, only when we are ready for a change and work towards a change as a team, the possibility is nearer. So I'm coming to the conclusion. Just one more slide, please. So you can see this. This is what is currently happening in our curriculum. Basically, we give him a plate full of, we fill the plate, the teachers fill the plate, and the student is very happy about it currently. But what we are planning to do is, that's going to be an empty plate. So all the raw materials will be provided to the student. He is expected to find his own raw material of interest. He has to find his own tool, and he has to make his own food now. So initially it can be like that. Later on it can become like this. And finally it can become very beautiful. You can see that is the change we're expecting through this competency-based medical education. A dependent learner becomes an involved learner. Involved learner becomes an interested learner, or the interested learner becomes an involved learner. And finally he becomes an expert in his self-directed learning process, and the teacher from an authority to a delegator. So to conclude, our competency-based medical education is an outcome-based, goal-driven, learner-centric shared responsibility between the student and the teacher, And lifelong learning is interlinked to the self-directed learning process, wherein the student takes initiative, sets his own SMART goals, resources, self-manages, self-monitors, and reflects on his own. And our graduate medical education regulations, it emphasizes that hands-on training, symposia, seminars, small group discussions, problem-oriented, problem-based learning, in addition to self-directed learning skills. And currently we have 12 hours of classroom session in the second phase. In the ATCOM module, we have 8 hours of SDL and the various modules I've mentioned about. The best suited teaching learning method will be a small group discussion. Reflection is obtained in the form of a narrative or a critical writing. And the role of the facilitator is to make the whole learning experience very enjoyable, student-friendly, and as far as possible, very student-friendly and student-centered. And thank you all very much. Thank you all so much. These are my references. My acknowledgements to our college dean, Dr. Hirini Rajan sir, Dr. Ramchandra Bhatt, our director and professor, and a special thanks to the national convener and national coordinator, Dr. Punnahai from Ramachandra Medical College, Dr. Arul Amuda from Balaji Medical College, and Rosha for her pictures. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jalil sir, giving a wonderful and elaborative description of SDL with some examples also. Before opening this session for the discussion, just I am adding 2 sentences. The one is for each and every teaching and learning session, there is a formula known as M4, that is motivation, management, monitoring, and modification. Now these all 4, they can be either by the help of the teacher or they are by the student themselves. Our motto in SDL is that all these 4, they are from towards the student side. The second line is that our role, which was actually the stage at the stage, now has shifted a guide at the side. Now that is the thing. Now we were just a learned person at the stage. Now this has shifted as a guide at the side. Now this is the beauty. I think the time is running. So now to conclude the session, I thank all the organizer, our speaker, Dr. Dinesh Badiyal, especially for supporting at each and every step, and the audience who is actually involved throughout the session for this wonderful talk by our speakers. So just to conclude, the one sentence which I am again repeating, now this is the time to become a guide, not to become a person at the stage. Because, and if we are a supportive guide and we are facilitator, our job will be more easy and the learning will be more in depth for the student. Thank you everyone. Thanks.